Thank you, President.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is Anne Widdecombe. Anne Widdecombe served as an MP for Maidstone and Weald. She served as an Undersecretary to a previous Prime Minister, John Major. She was Minister for Prisons, I believe, as well for about a year. She was, much like with her own faith, which she discovered or rediscovered even at 30, a very devoted Conservative, which often makes people wonder why Cameron never gave her a peerage when she resigned and retired in 2010. Many people in the UK know Anne Widdecombe from her appearances on Have I Got News For You and I believe Strictly Come Dancing, and see her as a somewhat funny person because of how serious she takes herself. Now in 2016, she supported Leave, her position being, we must stand against the oppressors, the undemocratic ones at that. And in 2019, she returned to politics as a candidate for the Brexit Party, which is why she was expelled from the Conservative Party, which I guess didn't stand too well with her. Her reason for standing in this election is because she believed the government failed to deliver on Britain's departure, where she wanted to see a seismic shock to both parties and see the extent of the disgust from the public. Since she got elected, this is what she did after saying, "Thank you, President."
It's a great honour to speak on behalf of the largest single party in this place. And may I say that if I needed any convincing at all, that the best thing for Britain is to leave here as soon as possible. It was the way that those elections were conducted yesterday.
That is a direct reference to the fact that the new heads of the EU's various parliaments and blah blah blahs were selected behind closed doors, with many complaining that there were no Eastern Europeans chosen, only Western Europeans.
Because if that is this place's idea of democracy, then that is a serious betrayal of every country that is represented here.
Somewhat interestingly, since those new people were chosen to be the presidents of various areas of the EU itself, quite a lot of MEPs have spoken out against how this is done. Naturally, the biggest party in that parliament will be of one of those groups of MEPs that said something. But other countries are less impressed, Eastern Europeans especially. Hopefully, they can reform that, because it should be elected, not selected. And in before someone says, but you don't elect a Prime Minister. No, but the leader is elected from our political system via the largest political party. If that were to happen now, it would either be the CDC alliance nonsense from Germany or the Brexit Party. Therefore, it is not the same thing.
Because it is not democratic at all. And that is just one of many reasons why Britain is right to be leaving this place, hopefully on Halloween.
I hope so too. But a very small part of me is starting to believe the many when they say, yeah, even Hunt and Johnson won't deliver.
And it is right because there is a pattern consistent throughout history.
If you're wondering why I made an entire video on what Anne Widdecombe says, this is why it is the single juiciest bit that got the best response.
Of oppressed people turning on the oppressors, slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires. And that is why Britain is leaving.
Somewhat understandably, people have called her out for this. The false equivalence, many believe, in comparing slavery to us being tied to the EU. I think it's an interesting perspective. It's not the smartest one, I don't think, but I do get her overarching point. Now, she was, and I only found out just before recording, on Newsnight where she was questioned about this. I'm going to play a small clip of what she said, because it is highly relevant for her to explain why she said it.
If people want to interpret what I've said in a particular way, that is not my responsibility. I know that you're bright enough to understand an argument. The argument was there is a pattern throughout history which shows that if you oppress people for long enough and hard enough, they eventually rebel. I stand by what I said. If you want to melodramatically interpret it, that is up to you. I can do no more.
Okay, so I'm only actually interrupting this so as to avoid a copyright claim from BBC because I wanted to play the entire clip. Well, it would have been a minute long, and that would get me a copyright claim, and rightly so. Doesn't fall under fair use at that point. This, however, what she's about to do next, the presenter that is the best bit.
How can you use the comparison to slaves and oppression and sit there and expect people to take you seriously? Yes, you had two other examples. I do understand a metaphor. I do understand comparison. But you know the power of words.
What I don't understand is how you can sit there and say perfectly intelligently that you understand I wasn't making a direct comparison, and then talk as if I were.
As you can see, the BBC still produces, since Paxman left, top-notch, do the OK symbol and some air quotes please, questioning by the presenters, to the point where they only read what's written in front of them as opposed to trying to get more into the discussion, because she went from one question to another. Yes, there were jump cuts because I cut out dead air, but she basically then went from asking about the comment and the word slave to then ignoring everything Anne said to make that point. So you know what, I'm just going to play the final bit of Anne Widdecombe's original MEP European Parliament speech and finish here. Going to be streaming here later tonight, by the way, people, at 10:30 PM GMT, giving me enough time for a premiere I have on the main channel.
Wir gehen, we're off!
Grazie.